Hello everyone, welcome back to the RC Pilot's Log. In front of me I have all 111 inches of the quarter scale Fournier RF4 restoration project. I've not touched it in a few months as I've been working on getting the Futaba ready and a few other projects, and they're now out of the way and maidened, and I think now is the time to really press on with this project and get some work done. This is the first time I've actually assembled the full model. I had to remove the wall of my my makeshift temporary workshop in the back of my garage. I've removed that and now I've got enough space to get the full wingspan in, and it's seriously impressive. I haven't got a model this size. The Futaba is just over 80 inches, so 111 inches is really impressive. As you would have seen from previous videos, I've got one wing stripped down and I made a 3D printed wing spoiler, lift spoiler for that. So I need to get the other wing stripped down and replicate that. I also need to make decisions on how I'm going to mount the servos and how the wings are going to fix together. So let's take a look at that. Both wings are stripped down pretty well now. There's still a few areas where the covering is stuck, but for the most part it's off and I can sort those out later on. I want to get the fundamentals done, make sure I've got servos in and working, control surfaces and the wings mate correctly before I really focus on finer details. I've got three Futaba S3003 servos spare from another model that I recently got rid of, and I'm going to use these for the wings. Two of them, one in each wing, to actuate the pushrod and bell crank ailerons. I really like that mechanism. I think it's just great engineering, and I know it's tried and tested and been around for a very long time. Yes, you can do direct control of ailerons in a much more efficient way with less slot and less play, but there's something quite charming about this old model and its old way of doing things. So I'm going to retain those, as I've said previously in other videos. Yeah, single servo in this pocket here should actuate that without any issues. So that's the next task. Come up with a mount to get that servo in there. So I've got a bit of a starting point set up here. I'm working out a general position for the servo. And it seems to work really nicely, as it should. No reason that it wouldn't. So I'm going to just glue up and stick together a nice balsa and ply mount for this servo. It will have to be a tray that I screw in, otherwise there'll be no way I can get in to undo and remove the servo in future. But that's going to be good. So let's see what I come up with in terms of mounting it. Right, so this is the little mount I've made. The servo's just temporarily screwed in place there, but as you can see it's just some thick ply blocks, glue epoxied to a plywood plate, a thin ply plate, screwed down into the ply plate with 3 screws. It was going to be 4, but I ended up covering the hole, and then operates very nicely. They're not the fastest servos in the world, but I don't think they need to be for this plane. So I need to do the same for the other side, and then we will have working ailerons. This plate joins the 2 wings together and holds some dihedral on them, and it bolts through this side into an aluminium plate that's threaded, but this side is just two wood screws that go through into this block. What I'm going to do is remove those and use some captive nuts and some Allen head bolts to go through there, just to make it a little bit more positive. Those screws have seen better days and no doubt there's been a lot of vibrations there, so I'm going to pull them out, put some captive nuts in the other side and bolt that together. So this is what I'm going with, a couple of hex head stainless steel bolts with spring washers, and then some captive wood nuts to go on the other side. They should be the same hole diameter. I shouldn't need to enlarge those, but obviously this is probably all imperial fittings, and I know those nut bolts are there, but these will do fine. I don't want to buy some imperial fittings just to keep them the same. What I'm considering now is if this wing fits in my car together, assembled, I'll just have this as a semi-permanent fixing. I do need to look at how the wings join here, because they're not well together, and this is pulled in tight now, so obviously there's been some movement or some warpage, or the initial fit was just that when it bolts to the fuselage through here, that holds the two sides together. I'd prefer something a little bit more positive on the wing itself, so I'll see what I can do there. With both of these tight as they go, we've obviously got this gap opening up here, so we could look at some sort of fixing through here in the middle. That combined with the bolting of the wing together onto the fuselage should hold it quite nicely in place. Maybe just a nut and bolt through here would do the job. So I've constructed and installed the second servo plate and mount there, and got them hooked up and wired in, and both ailerons are now working very nicely. Obviously not the fastest servos ever, but they are doing a perfectly fine job for what I'm going to need and use this plane for. Next up, I think I need to get the other spoiler sorted on this side, so that we can have fully matching wings, and then it'll be a case of doing some repairs around this area and making that good. Just marked out the area for the lift spoiler, the 3D printed lift spoiler, same location as this side. I am in two minds about these spoilers. I think they're a good idea. Obviously, I'd prefer to spend a load of money and get some nice actuated fence spoilers that lift up and drop down vertically. But these will do the same job, and they should work effectively. And if they don't, then they're not too much of a chore just to either remove them and patch over, or just leave them as non-functioning and just take the weight as a consequence. But I'll push ahead and cut this piece out and get the right side wing spoiler 3D printed. While the 3D printer's running, I decided to have a look at a better way, or a renovated way of securing this plate to both wings, and I've decided that actually I'm going to remove this this aluminium plate that is tapped and replace it with a block of ply and some of those captive nuts again on the other side. Then I can use the metric nuts and bolts for both sides of the wing, and that makes it nice and clean, not having to swap Allen wrenches and things like that. So plan is just to I've cut this piece to size. That will be epoxied in place here, and then I will drill through these holes and put the captive nuts in the other side and tighten it all down. And I'm also going to have a little bit of a play and try and sand this edge so that the two wings meet and join a little bit better and more securely. Right, so that took quite a few minutes, but we've got the plate, the ply plate on the back epoxied on, and they're actually M4. I said M5 earlier. M4 stainless cap heads and captive nuts gone through there, and I've also placed one in the middle here, again with some ply plates either side, and the M4 captive screw, captive nut there, and the cap head bolt, and that's made a really nice job of pulling those wing halves together and getting them aligned. We are missing a little bit of a section here, but that won't be too much of a bother to just replace this this piece here and make the profile the same. So that's a really nice job there. I'm pleased with that. It does look a little bit messy. It is old wood, it is old paint. This bit's not going to be seen, and as long as it's strong enough, I'm not too concerned with the visual appearance of it. I've squared up the end here, dented it a little bit while doing up this bolt, but I'm quite happy with that. That's a nice solid join now. There's no movement in that. That will be very strong. Next up, I think the 3D printer is still churning away in the corner there, and once that's complete, I'll be fitting the right hand spoiler. Just spent about 20 minutes trying to get the fit of the wing into the fuselage better. I had to enlarge some holes in this wing plate here for the heads of the screws that I've used, because this side had the wood screws with a flat head and they were flush. Obviously now I've used cap head which are protruding, and I've got that to fit nicely, but strangely with this flush against the firewall, the rear of the wing didn't fit into the fuselage recess. So whether that was something that had been an issue since the model was built, or whether that's changed over time, I don't know, but I basically had to sand down, you can see the dust all over my hands, sand down the trailing edge here to allow it to fit in the fuselage. And now I'm just going to tighten it down with these original bolts to see how that fits. And obviously you can see over this side where I need to rebuild some of the balsa on the trailing edge. So I'll pop the camera in a tripod and we'll get that screwed down. So that's in there now. It's not beautifully flush. It's a big old plate. Struggle to get this down, I think. There goes the light. I'm always hitting that. Okay. When it's in, and a reasonable fit, I think we can take a little bit off the top of it. There's obviously some stresses going on there. A few things are cracking, so it's not quite perfect. I don't want that kind of strain twisting on the wing. So I just need to sand a little bit off the inside to clearance it a bit more. Okay, so the wing is nearing completion in terms of the mechanical parts to it. I have both spoilers now working nicely on the switch, and both ailerons working suitably well. I've tidied up a few bits around the centre of the wing, added some 1/4 inch square here, patched in a hole, and just filled a few cracks with some Gorilla wood glue, and that's done a really nice job of making that solid. The next job, I guess, is to do a bit more prep work, sanding and smoothing the wing. I have ordered some aura cover. I'm going to go with a sky blue and white theme for the whole plane. Predominantly white fuselage, predominantly white wing with a sky blue leading edge and sky blue sunburst. I think that's going to look really nice, make a change from the red and white of the rest of my fleet. So good progress on the wing. The weather's turned very cold the last couple of days. Had a bit of a snow flurry today, so there's definitely no flying at the moment, so it's time to build. Well, as you might be able to tell, it's been a few weeks since I started filming this episode. Spring is a bit more in the air, it's a little bit warmer, although there's still a really cold wind at the moment, so flying has been limited, but we're on the up in terms of the weather. Well, I have spent a bit more time the last couple of days working on the Fournier wings, and here I've started covering one of the wings in this white aura cover, and it's coming up really nice. I'm pleased. It's going to take a lot to cover this model. I bought 4 rolls, 2 white and 2 of the blue, and that will be enough for the wings. That won't do me for the fuselage. But a few things that have changed in the last week or so. I removed the aileron. That was very easy because the hinges were just pinned. There was no glue involved at all, which was concerning. If I had tried to fly it like that, I think they may well have come out at some point. But that came off nice and easy after pulling the pins out. And I had to get a little bit creative in terms of how I could get the control rod through for the aileron. As it's kind of just a blob of solder on the end of the push rod as it's come through the bell crank, and that meant it was tricky to get the hole in the right place and all that sort of thing. So what I had to do was just build up a frame around the opening and kind of just cover around that and cut through it. Similar with the landing gear or the wing gear here, I had to cut a slot and get the large bit of aura cover in place and in position before I started tacking it down with the iron, and that took a little bit of work, so I ended up having a bit of a cut there that I didn't really want, but it actually it's come out quite nice, and I'm not sure you'll pick it up on the camera because of the lighting, but just looking down here, I think it looks pretty good, and we've got a good finish on that. So I still need to do the top side, and I'm going to get on with some of that today, and I'll need to cover the aileron and the wing spoiler. I think my plan here is I will do the whole top section similar to the underside, and then I'll cut open the wing spoiler and remediate around there if I need to. So yeah, it's going to be a white wing, as I said earlier, with a blue leading edge and some blue sunburst, and I've actually got a picture of that scheme that I'll pop up here somewhere now. But I think that's probably enough for this episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed the update. It's taken me a bit longer at the moment to get to making videos because I've got lots of projects on the go and I'm kind of doing bits and pieces of both. I do think, however, this engine that I plan on putting in on the Fournier, it's an SC80, and I might have a go at converting it to petrol, to gas powered. That would be fun. We'll lose a bit of power, but I do like the gas planes, so we'll see. But if not, it's getting the SC80 in whatever form I choose. This has had very little use, this engine, by the looks of it. Turns over very nicely. I need to get a deep glow plug for it, and give it a fire up on the bench. But anyway, more on that another time. Thank you so much for watching. Do keep an eye out on the 30th of April for the giveaway video. That will be the video you'll need to comment on to enter into the giveaway. If you haven't seen the giveaway announcement video, again, there'll be a link up here. Do check that out. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your support. Happy flying.